All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Villery. Welcome to another edition of Studio C70, our student candidate interview series. Today, we are very excited to go into Allegheny County and interview Judge Michele Santicola, who is running for Judge of Court of Common Pleas in Allegheny County. And she will be interviewed by high schoolers from Pittsburgh Perry High School in Mr. Connolly's civics class. And so Mr. Connolly, we're working on some technical challenges, and so he's got his iPhone out, and so the students are just going to pass the phone around. But thank you very much, Judge, for being here. Really appreciate it. And Mr. Connolly, I'll turn it over to you and your class.
Sure, appreciate it. Our first student here, you want to introduce yourself?
Haley.
Hi, Haley.
Go and make sure we can see you. We've got the camera pointed at this ceiling. There you go.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you.
What's a fun fact about you?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. A fun fact about me. Actually, it's interesting that I'm speaking to a ninth grade civics class. It was when I was in ninth grade civics class, a judge who went on to become she was at that time a common pleas judge. She went on to become the chief judge of the Western District in federal court in Pennsylvania. Danetta Ambrose was her name. She came and spoke to my ninth grade civics class. And that is the day I decided I want to be a lawyer and I want to go to law school and I want to someday maybe do what she does and be a judge. And that's what started me on this path. So I think it's super fun that I'm speaking to a ninth grade civics class today.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, Haley? Okay, let's go next.
Go back now.
Yeah, pass it to Devontae.
Okay.
Devontae, introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Devontae. And can you briefly tell us about a little background of your education?
Sure. Yes. So I went to my undergrad degree I got from Duquesne University right here in Pittsburgh. And then I was all set to go to law school at Pitt. And Pitt obviously is a great program. I was accepted to Pitt. I was accepted to Duquesne. I chose Pitt because I thought, well, we'll mix it up. I already went to Duquesne undergrad. And then at the last minute, I was offered a scholarship to go to Dickinson School of Law, which is part of Penn State. And so, sight unseen, I packed up my car and I drove to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and I went to law school at Penn State's Dickinson School of Law. So it takes 7 years to become an attorney, 4 years of undergrad, 3 years of law school, and that's what I did.
Okay. There.
Thank you. Yep. Next. Haley, what the next? Voice. Devontae. Stay.
My name is Xavier Brooks, and could you tell us why it's important to for young people to vote?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's important for everyone to vote. And I when I was in law school, I forgot to get my absentee ballot. And so I drove 7 hours round trip to vote in an election because it is so important. It's important for young people because you want your voices to be heard. And, it used to be where people would say older people always vote, and they were generally the people who voted. But more recently, young people have been voting in greater numbers and their voices have been heard, and that's change has been coming about because of that. And different ages have different perspectives, and I think it's important for younger people's voices to be heard, their perspectives to be respected, and the only way that's going to happen is if you go out and vote.
My name is Xavier Lash. What makes you fit for the office?
That's a great question too. So I think this was the time I chose to run because I have 30 years experience as an attorney, and the last 5 I've been a judge. I'm the only person in the race who's been a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a judge. I started my career, I was a deputy attorney general for 10 years. I traveled all around 23 counties in Western Pennsylvania doing jury trials, bench trials, pleas, sentencing, grand jury cases, and appeals. So that experience, then I took and became a defense attorney. And that really changed my perspective on things, being a defense attorney, understanding more closely that people are more than what they did on their worst day. And people are more than just charges on a piece of paper. And also really looking into what brings people into the criminal justice system, what their backgrounds are, what led them to go down perhaps the wrong path, and also the effect that it has not just on a criminal defendant, but on their whole family. And it really is something that has an effect on an entire family when someone's charged with a crime. Then I actually became a hearing examiner for our liquor control board and heard licensing issues for bars and restaurants who had violations, and that experience then as sitting as a fact finder and ruling on issues of evidence helped me in my current role as magisterial district judge. And I have 5.5 years experience doing that. So I am experienced in running a courtroom and making rulings and doing that important work, which is when you're running for this job, you can ask the Bar Association for a rating, and they look at your record of work, they look at your education, your experience, your community involvement, and they give a rating. And they gave me the highest rating. Had they not, I would not have run. But they gave me their highest rating and recommendation for this job. So all those led to my decision to run for this office at this time.
Okay, thank you. Yes, indeed.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Cynthia Segeche, and my question for you is, what did you do as a high schooler to support your dream to become a judge?
I'm sorry, what did I do? What did you say?
What did you do as a high schooler to support your dream to become a judge?
Okay. That's a great question too. So when I was in high school, as I said, when I was in ninth grade, I decided I wanted to be a judge. And so I just made sure to work really hard, get good grades, and save money. My parents didn't have money to send me to college. So I knew that I had to either save up the money, take out loans, get scholarships, which is what I ended up doing all three of those things just to prepare myself. The other thing I did when I was in high school, which was a very, very, very long time ago, there was someone who was nominated to be on on the United States Supreme Court. And it was uncovered during his hearings that he had smoked marijuana when he was a young person um, in high school, college. And back then, there was no medical exceptions. And his nomination was derailed, and he was not able to go on the Supreme Court, even though the president at that time had appointed him. And I vowed that day, I said, look, I have bigger dreams. So I am not going to do anything that's going to derail those dreams. So I made sure that I stayed on the straight and narrow. I didn't do the things that a lot of my friends did. You know, young kids will make mistakes, but I realized then that if I had a bigger dream and had bigger aspirations, I had to really buckle down and stay on the straight and narrow. And that's what I did from that day on. I said, I'm not going to ever experiment with drugs or, do things that will someday get me in trouble. And I tell people that in my courtroom, not that story in particular, but when young people get in trouble and they come in, whether it's an underage drinking or a disorderly conduct charge or possession of a small amount of drugs or retail theft, I say, look, you want to do something, whether it's a trade or college or a job after high school. Don't do something that's going to put you at the bottom of the pile. There's going to be a lot of people vying for these. You guys will see when it's time to apply for college or jobs. There are going to be lots and lots of people who they have to sift through all these applications. Don't put yourself behind by doing something silly. And to that end, when young people appear in my court and they have made a mistake and take accountability, I want to make sure to help them and do like an alternative resolution rather than convict them of something, because I don't want that to stick with them. Now, if they keep coming back making the same mistake over and over again, then it's not, but if I can help them and say, all right, do community service and then have these charges withdrawn, that's how I like to handle things for young people, because you're going to be competing against a lot of other folks who have good grades and have all these things. You don't want something in your file that's going to hold you back. And not every judge is like me. Not every judge is going to give people that break. So the best advice I would give is just to, be young, be a kid, have fun, but don't do things that are going to put you at the bottom of the pile.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hi, my name's Kaylin, and I was just wondering, what does a campaign look like to run for judge?
So Allegheny County is a huge county, and it's you're going from, I mean, it takes probably an hour to get from side to side, and
Yeah.
every night during this, it started in early January, going to meetings all over the county every single night, talking to voters, talking to committee members. There's a Democratic committee, there's a Republican committee. And so talking to committee members, asking them for their support, asking them for their help. Last night I was at a candidates forum, which is like a debate with the League of Women Voters. They put that on. I was there for 3.5 hours last night. That was in Oakland. Come home, go to bed, get up first thing this morning. I'm speaking to another group. Then I'm working a full-time job. I have 3 children, so it's a lot. It's very taxing, but it's very important. It's important that we have qualified people running and serving in these important positions. So it's an exhausting process, but and different people talk about. And we were just having this discussion. I was at a luncheon with other judges just before I hopped on here, and we were talking about Pennsylvania is one of only 17 who elect judges rather than have them appointed. And some people feel like it should not be an elected position because judges are supposed to be completely apolitical, no politics, and to be associated with being a judge. However, I don't know what the right answer to that is, because then you just put it in the hands of one person and you get appointed. So you have to have political connections in order to get the appointment. This way, at least anybody who has a law degree has a chance at it, and you go out and you talk to the voters. So it's an exhausting, long process, but it's I think very important. And then people get to meet you and get to know you and can form an opinion about your qualifications.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, my name is Cadence, and I have the question of what can you prove to the voters in Allegheny County that you can run up for a judge?
Well, I feel like my experience, like I said, I have 30 years legal experience, and it's really varied. I did prosecution, I did defense work, I've done civil, and now being a judge. So I have the experience. I have the experience being a judge, that it would be very helpful, ruling on evidence and admissibility of evidence and credibility of witnesses. Also writing legal opinions, which I did when I worked for the Liquor Control Board. And then the other thing that I think is really important for a judge is not just the legal experience part of it, but the life experience. I am one of the older candidates in the race. But I don't see that as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. Number one, the legal experience. Number two, the life experience. So I have, first of all, I'm a volunteer in my community in several organizations. I volunteer. I was on the board of our food bank. I no longer am on the board, but I still volunteer there. Every weekend for the last 8 years, I'm there giving out food. also helped start a backpack program for kids in our community who didn't have food over the weekends. We packed them up on Thursday evenings to send them home with non-perishable items and fresh fruit so that over the weekend, they, when they're not at school, they still have something to eat. I also volunteer at our local after school program for at-risk children and get to know them and help them with homework and help them with uh, different things that they need. And I think all of those things make me qualified because I am in touch with the needs of the community and helping. And I think the role of Come and Please Judge is a role of service, and people need to remember that we are there to serve the public. And my long record of service speaks for itself.
Okay. And one more question.
Mhm.
Was it an inspiration for you to run for judge, or it was like always a drive to you since high school?
It's always been in the back of my mind. Like I said, when I was in that civics class and that judge came and talked to us, I thought, wow, I'd really like to do that someday. But that and different things going on in our worlds in the last year really pushed me to do this at this time. I think it's important that the rule of law is respected and followed. And the judicial branch is really important in making sure that that happens. And so that really kind of pushed me. I have 3 children. I have a foster son and my son who are both seniors in high school. So the timing for me wasn't great because going on college visits with them and they're both basketball players. So going through the recruiting process has been really busy trying to balance everything. But all 3 of my children have been really understanding and very supportive of me doing this at this time because they know my heart and they know that I can make a difference. I feel like I make a difference in my community already, and I just want to broaden that to the wider community. I'm just currently in a district that encompasses Moon Township, Coriopolis, Neville Township, and Crescent Township, and I want to take my compassion and experience and help people on a broader level throughout the whole county.
Okay.
Me again. What do you think is a proper role of a judge in our legal system?
I think the most important thing a judge needs to be fair, impartial,
Yeah.
but I also think they need to be compassionate and they need to listen. There's it's really nobody wants to be in court, whether they're in court in family division. Family division hears divorce cases, custody disputes. Nobody wants to be there for that. It's
Yeah.
it's a really hard time. Whether it's criminal court, you're there either as a victim, as a witness to a crime, as a defendant. It's really important to be heard and respected, no matter where you come from, no matter what your role in the court case is. And all in civil division, anybody who's there, you're either there because you were in a car accident or have a dispute with somebody or a medical issue that didn't turn out well, a medical malpractice claim. And every single person who walks in there needs to feel heard. And I really focus on that in my courtroom. Not everybody is going to win per se, when quote unquote their case. But as long as they feel like they've been heard and respected, and I think that's the most important thing a judge can do. They can't make everybody happy with the outcome necessarily, but they really, really, really need to make sure people feel heard and respected.
Yeah. Can I ask another question or should I pass it on?
Go
Hi, it's me again. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing Allegheny County?
That's an interesting in terms of the countywide or in terms of in the court system.
The county.
Okay. Yeah, so there's obviously there are budget issues, and recently there was a big fight, and taxes were raised and people are very upset about that. And it's understandable that people don't want to pay more taxes. However, we we have to balance the taxes with the services that are being that are needed. And I don't know if any of you lost power recently, but out where I am, we lost power for 7 days, and it was super frustrating. And you realize the importance of having whether it's roads or your roads cleared, or the utilities, like those are all things that are either controlled by, or they our utilities are public utilities. So that's governed by our those in that case the state. So having qualified people in positions of power is really important. And when you don't, things break down. Our county is facing a budget crisis. I understand that. And it's important that we take care of that, and we take care of all the things that government is supposed to take care of: the roads, the police, uh, all our the services. And I think something that we need to focus a little bit more on is making sure that, especially the young people, like when I was growing up, there were things for young people to do, things to get involved with. There were community centers, there were different sports that you didn't have to pay a lot to go play. And I know for you all, a lot of those services and community centers and whatnot have closed. And then um, it's no mystery to me why young people are getting into trouble more. It's because you don't have those services and you don't have anything to do. And so a lot of times then young people turn to doing things that aren't productive or positive. So I think we need to put more money, and we need to focus on helping young people succeed rather than punishing you when you don't.
Thank you.
Sure.
Once again, me. Coming from someone who's like dealt with the system and how it is, what is your take on how we handle PFAs, like guardianship things, to going and taking somebody else's like custody? For example, if somebody's parents were to go missing, what how would like how would you proceed? Like their grandparents taking care of them, how would you take care of that?
Um, so yeah, I actually regularly grant or deny PFAs, and that's a very important tool that is available to folks. I've also seen it abused by people who use it kind of as a tool to get back at a former boyfriend, spouse, or try to manipulate it in order to get custody, which is unfortunate. In Pennsylvania, grandparents currently that's an issue with our system that the legislature needs to fix, because there are grandparent if parents aren't involved, um, or don't want grandparents to be involved, it's tough for grandparents to have the right to see the children. Now, if the parents aren't involved, then the grandparents can go to court and get custody of the children. It's a very difficult, it's a very emotional, that's a great example of what I'm saying. Like, judges need to be compassionate, understanding, and there are a lot of wonderful grandparents who want to be involved and should be given that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. I was told by a judge that, what was it? We need to get permission from parental figures in situations like that, which, once again, I don't think is the fair fight that we're supposed to be given.
Right. Yeah, and that's I in my private practice prior to being where I am now, I represented children and grandparents several times who were in that same situation. And it's extremely unfair. And I think the law needs to change in that respect.
100%.
Last question. Why are you the best choice for the office?
Well, again, I'm the only one who's been a prosecutor, a defense attorney, a judge. I have a lot of varied experience. I'm highly recommended by the Bar Association, but also life experience. I'm a mom, as I said, of three. My foster son is this just tells you a little bit about who I always say my resume, that's the menu, but the menu's not the food. The food is kind of who I am as a person. Who I am as a person is someone who I have a lot of legal experience for sure. And that's very important. But I think who I am as a person, someone who rolls up their sleeves and goes to the food bank every Sunday and helps people, somebody who goes to our local community center and tutors young kids, um, somebody who heard about a young kid in our community whose parents weren't around, who was being raised by a grandmother, but she wanted something better for him, and he was facing a lot. That's his story to tell. But my husband and I took him in, um, and he is now thriving and doing great, and is going to go to college, and we're going to do that for him. And he he is just, we've changed his life according to him and a lot of other people. And that's who I am as a person, somebody who saw this problem. I didn't know him. I just heard, wow, he's a great kid, this poor kid, everyone's saying, oh, this poor kid. And I said to my husband, I just feel called, like we need to do something for him. And he's a wonderful kid, and I'm so proud of him and proud of where how far he's come and where he's going. And even though he'll turn 18 this summer, he still will always be our family, and we'll always take care of him. And it's also changed my life in seeing the world through his eyes, because he's Black, and I didn't realize racism until I saw it through his eyes. And there are things about his story that I thought I understood, but I didn't until I'm living it with him. And I'm so proud of him. So I feel like my legal experience and my personal experience has made me, this is the time for me to run, and will make me a good judge, because not only do I have the legal background, but my personal experience has made me qualified for this position. And I think that's the most important thing. I turn on the news and I see what happens when we put people in positions of power who are not qualified to be there, and it doesn't work. And that's why I waited till I feel like I'm qualified for this position professionally and personally, and hope to be able to get there.
Okay.
Right. I think it sounds like we're up on time.
Yeah.
Mr. Connolly, thank you so much. Your students asked great questions, and
They sure did.
yeah, and
Yeah, we really
Judge,
appreciate your time, and thanks for having us today.
Thank you. And good luck to all of your students. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. They're really bright kids with great questions.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for those watching on the live stream, reminder: Election Day is May 20th. That's a Tuesday. Judge Santicola is cross-filed in both the Republican and Democratic primary ballots. So as a reminder, Pennsylvania is a closed primary state. You have to be registered as either a Republican or a Democrat to cast your ballot for her. But thank you all. Judge, thank you very much, and good luck on all.
Thank you. Thank you.